thanks. Yeah, it's I haven't really been as active in the Discord lately. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously when the market goes down, sometimes you lose a little enthusiasm, but I'm always looking at a lot of different things. In terms of international stocks is kind of like what I'm looking at a lot, because I feel like there's some missed opportunities. I mean, obviously, like the Argentina stocks have gone up a lot. Cresud, they own a bunch of farmland and shopping malls and things like that. People are looking at like, hey, Ukraine, we need a safe way to get commodities and stuff like that. So I'm looking at those. I'm a big fan of Domo Capital. He's like the guy that originally got me kind of into GameStop. I mean, I've been interested in it for 10 years, but he wrote the article that really got me into it. He's averaged like 20% since '08. Obviously, that's only about a third of what Chris has averaged, but I like his thought process. So basically, I'm looking at his value stocks as well. I like to be a social arb trader like Chris. It's hard to find something that's really gaining traction without doing a lot of research, or just something that hits you over the top of the head. So
what I like about you, Thomas, is you always try and think outside the box. So when we were trying to brainstorm European stocks that drop loads but might benefit from Ukraine, you were in there with your thoughts, which was really helpful for me.
That's right.
Outside of America.
I actually did end up buying a little of that Coca-Cola Hellenic.
Yeah, it's up a few percent today. My Wizz Airlines is up, I think, about 9% since we put that doc in.
Yeah, that was cool. I didn't realize. I forgot who that was that did that. That's cool. So I mean, the Wizz Airlines, like, they're still losing a lot of money from what I only looked at it for like 10 minutes, but it looked like they were losing a lot of money. I mean, granted, I think that maybe like because they're expanding their flights or whatever, but that was sort of a red flag to me.
Yeah, it's a horrible company. It's like all airlines. They're losing money. Yeah. It's purely a trade on if the kind of Ukraine situation dies down eventually. And then if it does, then I'll look to sell that position. But yeah, they've fallen so much that I just wanted to have a piece of Coca-Cola and Wizz.
Right. The Coke one makes a lot of
things die down.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, like the bottling businesses are usually pretty good, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of margins and all that. So it could even be an investment. I don't know.
Cool. Anyway, we're hogging the chat, so I'm going to go back to Tev or Pedro or Tim.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask Leon a question real quick?
What's up, buddy?
Just wondering what your strategy is with ApeCoin. What percentage are you allocated? How bullish are you? How long are you holding? What's your exit?
Yeah, I'll keep percentage private, but I've got about 55K in ApeCoin right now. So I see it as taking over. It will replace Dogecoin. So it's purely it's going to be a culture meme coin play. So it's going to replace Dogecoin. If it gets to the top 10, I think I did the calculation last night. That's $79 a coin, or it's like 76 to 80 bucks a coin if it gets in the top 10. And I think it's a top 10 coin, just purely based on culture, mimetic power. That's literally as simple as that. So I may exit it once it gets to the top 10. Super ultra bullish case is if it gets to the top 5, it's $200 a coin. But I don't know if it gets there. But Thomas, your eggs are getting cooked. But like, that's what I'm holding out for. I think land was theorized. It dropped today because it's 420. That's why it exploded in price. And luckily, I sold one of my moonbirds, so I was able to get some more ApeCoin last night. But yeah, kind of bought at the top a little bit.
Okay, so you're just going long and strong.
Yeah, long. Maybe I'll hold all this summer. Maybe we'll see.
And Leon, I don't want to turn this into an NFT chat because I hate that stuff. Only kidding. But obviously, Coinbase launched their marketplace today. Did you have a look? What did you think?
Wait, you launched today? God damn it! Of all people, I'm supposed to be on top of that.
I just signed up. It's pretty wild. It's like a more polished OpenSea.
Oh Jesus Christ! I need to look into that today. But yeah, I have no comment until I use it.
Where have you been, Leon? Although I know you're prepping for a move, so we'll forgive you for that one. Tim, did you manage to dig in, sign up, and have a look around?
I signed up literally 2 minutes before I hopped on here, so I haven't dug in too much. It was kind of wild. They DM'd me like an access code.
Wait, Jenks,
like on Twitter.
They DM'd you, dude? No, like.
No, verified like Coinbase NFT account DM'd me an access code. It was the wildest thing.
So for those who don't know, Tim is famous. He's got like 1 million followers on all social media accounts, so he gets special access to things.
Okay.
I don't know if that's why I got it. I feel like everyone probably got this.
Dude, like a DM though, man, I'd be sus.
Did no one else get it?
I'd be sus, dude. don't.
Wait, Tim, what you have 100K followers? You said.
I'm sending you guys this screenshot.
Yeah, screenshot this, dude, and send me the profile.
Do you guys know if the Coinbase marketplace is just on ETH right now, or is it for Solana as well?
It eventually will support both. I think it's like my guess is it's ETH first. I don't see it. I feel sad.
I'm gonna check right now.
What's the URL? Is it Coinbase marketplace?
Everything is on. It's nft.coinbase.com. Yeah, everything's in ETH.
Wait, so real quick, Jenks. So why do you hate NFTs? Let's get into that. Let's do some therapy work.
No, you know it's purely just to wind you up because I know how much you love it.
Oh, dude, I see it. Okay, yeah, I see it. But like, let me sign in. Let me see if I have a invite code. Wait, can you send me an invite code, Tim?
I don't know if I have the ability to invite other people or not. Let me see.
So while we mess around with this, does anyone else want to come up and talk about a particular trade they like or something they've seen? Stick your hand up, come and join us. This is a safe space.
Yeah, come say hi, ask us, personal questions or stuff about stocks, crypto, or investing in general, social harm.
Or if anyone's got any thoughts on Discord, are we doing a shit job? Can we be doing better? What would you like to see? Feel free to come up and let us know.
Don't hold back.
This is great, by the way. Let's get together.
Yeah, it is. I just need more women. Where the women at? Dang. Hey, y'all.
Hey, GM,
What's going on?
Good morning. Grand Rising, everybody.
Do any of you guys have like a high conviction on right now? Maybe I know Leon's doing the Moonbirds, but
yeah, Moonbirds and Ape, high conviction.
I've got the Ukraine one, but it's more of a question because I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately.
What are you checking out over there?
I'm in Skin, SKIN. I traded last earnings. Probably one of the best trades I ever made, to be honest. Mm-hmm. It was up 50% in a week. Closed those out at like over 400%. So, if you look, I posted some of the G trends, and I think it's in the high conviction trade chat. But yeah, they're at all-time highs. They've surpassed last quarter. It's not. I wouldn't say it's like high conviction because their intellectual property is. I mean, the marketplace is getting basically just flooded with knockoffs, so they have really no like moat on their IP. It's really just like the structure of how they train their staff, how they like implement and roll out the hydrofacial like trademarked whatever the process to like certain clinics and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm just playing this next earnings. I think it's gonna like be a pretty decent surprise, but yeah, not betting the farm by any means. But that's about it for me at this point.
Why don't we play a game? The game is what is everyone's biggest holding? So, Trader, I'm going to start with you.
Definitely Palantir. Definitely.
Cool. Any insight into that one that we don't know already?
Man, where do you even begin with that stock? I'm like learning stuff every day. There's so much. I think that the biggest thing that like analysts and like the recent drop is because the government side of things slowed down, but they don't really. A lot of people didn't realize that like the renewal of government contracts happened the first of the year, so it's going to be in this quarter and not in last quarter. So that showed negative growth on the government side of business. But they also came out and said that they're already helping in Ukraine. We don't know the extent of that, but it seems pretty extensive. And that has basically opened up the door. Like, you know how Europe is pretty, they're weary of this kind of technology, and they're weary of anything American and kind of, like they don't have Monsanto in there and everything like that. But this is kind of like opening the door for Palantir. So like Germany came out, said that they're focusing on government spending, on military spending, defensive spending. It's pretty clear that Palantir is already working with the German government. They came out, I think it was BMW that they have contracts with, they're working with them. Like, it's pretty much like they got the foothold in there that the whole issue with Ukraine has kind of opened the door for them. So on the government side of things, I think we're in for a pretty big year. And just, it's a long-term hold. I'm going to hold this at least 10 years. So.
All right, thanks for your insight.
The problem with Palantir, there are two problems with Palantir. Number one, it is literally stock compensation that you just get diluted out of your mind. It just happens over and over again. So that's complicated, man. And another thing about Palantir is there's no way, obviously, for us to get in touch with the product. So we don't know, besides them telling us, what's really going on, how good the product is doing, because all we can know is like what they're telling us. Besides that, there's no other way for you to get that information unless you have, some insider kind of contacts, which I'm assuming none of us do. So those two big problems, and how do you even go around those things?
Yeah, so I mean, that is obviously a pretty big challenge as an investor. You kind of just have to have the faith at some point. But I mean, what I've watched probably a dozen different like software engineers, and my brother's actually a pretty high level software engineer. So it gets very, very technical in the weeds with a lot of it. And when it does, I send it to him and just be like, what are they even saying? And translate for me. And then like, how big of a deal is this? So that's been pretty eye-opening just because he can give me some like insider info. He doesn't obviously work for the company or have anything to do with it, but just hearing from a software engineer like perspective of just like the potential for this software is just insane, like mind-boggling, total disruption. So if you can't tell, I'm a little bullish on it.
No, absolutely. I'm just bouncing around my concerns because I like the idea that what Palantir could be. For me, the fact that the manage just keeps just diluting you over and over again for me is a little strange. Like, I don't like companies that do that as much as I like the company per se. For me, the management doing that is a big red flag, to be honest. So you just don't care. You're just kind of like, dilute me, let's go. And
I talked to my brother about this thing too, because they're competing with the FANGs and like all these other big Silicon Valley tech businesses for talent. And like my brother just like kind of reaffirmed my confidence in that what they're doing to recruit top tier talent. They're sacrificing near term performance, which Karp like just outright says like he doesn't care like what the stock is doing. Like if you're investing in Palantir, like plan to hold for a while, and like be prepared for that. But like just the steps that they're taking with the dilution to incentivize just recruitment of top notch like engineers is pretty paramount. And yeah, like I said, my brother just kind of gave me confidence in that, and he was like, yeah, that's going to be major, because if you can control like those people, that's you're going to be ahead of the game.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yep, we will.
Let's go with Tenasis next. I mean, at least, does anyone see Trader on the top left and Tenasis on the top second?
Yeah, that's the setup I've got.
Yeah, it's the
Thank
same
you.
thing. Yeah, so hello everyone. Well, for me, it is Ethereum, but I mean, I don't think I need to explain to most of you why. It's probably the blue chip of crypto, apart from Bitcoin, has probably the most potential to grow compared to Bitcoin, and the most returns probably. But it's been getting very close. Like, as much as I love Ethereum, I think I believe more in Solana and Luna. So Luna and Solana together are becoming very close to being my major like positions, and beat basically Ethereum, especially if Ethereum keeps on like basically being on a crab market for the last year or so.
And just on Solana and Luna, well, why are those in particular, just in case anyone's not really into kind of crypto?
Yeah. So, I mean, Solana, the NFT activity in itself, it's basically the cheaper version of Ethereum. It has, I think, a better UI system for wallets like Phantom, which is very important when you think of the average like mom and pop in the street. It has faster transactions, less cost of transactions, way less. And in general, I think it has a better user experience. Of course, it can have slowdowns. It's still in like mainnet beta, like it's a 2-year-old system. Of course, there are risks, but if it can be, if it can have the same amount of users that Ethereum has and more in the future, I'm talking about years, not months. Of course, it has insane potential. And then for Luna, basically it's a stable coin bet. It's nothing more than that. If people embrace algo stable coins, and UST is the biggest stable coin from the algorithmic perspective, it will be basically a supply shock of Luna, which basically has insane returns on Luna token if you hold the Luna token.
I've heard a lot of I've played quite a few games on Wax at the moment. I've never heard DumbMoney talk about Wax, but there's an awful lot of like little sort of, I guess, I don't know what you call it, amateur, but kind of indie gaming projects on Wax, NBM Battle Miners, like loads of these little projects, but I never hear the DumbMoney crowd really talking about Wax. There's always kind of Ethereum, but Wax has a very low market capitalization, and so I guess that means if it does get big, there's a hell of a lot of growth potential. And I think there's definitely kind of an interesting community and interesting kind of little NFT projects on Wax. All right, Crypto Stash is an influencer that's a big advocate of Wax. I was wondering what your thoughts on Wax are.
So
Doesn't Funko use Wax, or did, or once upon a time? Because we've had conversation about Wax in here. I thought.
Yeah, I think Funko was, right? Because we all joined the Wax Discord. Leon or Nat?
They were.
yeah, I was going to say why the dumb guys probably don't talk about it because one, Chris is on ETH, which has the most liquidity, the biggest market size. That's where the biggest projects are. That's why he's there. Solana is the second biggest, and he's not even on Solana. So except for this SMB, but like. Yeah, and Wax for me, like when I first saw Wax, I felt like it was just, I don't know, it felt like corporate chain to me, and that didn't interest me. So that's why I haven't looked at it. But yeah, do you want to tell us your bullish case on Wax, or we're skipping over NEPA? But yeah, go ahead, Philosophy King.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm interested too. The only thing I know is we've had a few conversations about it like months ago. It may have been last year, but I know with Funko, when they started introducing and being interested into NFTs, like a few of us were digging into Wax and seeing the opportunity there. And I saw a little bit, but honestly, I got disinterested too. I don't really know much, honestly. I didn't dig into it, so.
I have to say that I've more kind of drifted into it than dug into it. At the end of the day, I joined this social media platform called Torum, and Torum isn't a wax thing. It's a bit like Twitter, only you get paid cryptocurrency every time you make a tweet. So I figured, well, I've got a Twitter account, so I make tweets anyway, so why not join Torum and make some cryptocurrency while I'm doing all the stuff that I normally do on Twitter. And then basically a lot of the users on Torum made NFTs on Wax, and that's one of the reasons I started a Wax wallet, just so that I could get free NFTs from the artists on Torum. But then in addition to that, there's I play this game called Upland, which is it's actually on EOS, but there's it's interesting, like that there've been I think there's like overall in Upland there's like it's like an NFT property game, and there's about 200,000 unique property owners. But an interesting thing about it's very bad graphics, but an interesting thing is that there have been several spin-off projects of people who've literally been playing Upland and have actually met each other through Upland and then decided to start their own spin-off crypto projects. Metaforce Comics, NBM Battle Miners, and they also did their things on Wax. And Upland itself issued some NFTs on Wax, and then of course Our Planets is another game on Wax. I think Our Planets that's a pretty big little game. I remember watching the DumbMoney presentation on Wolf Game, where they were saying this is like really innovative, and it's the first sort of casino NFT game. But I'm literally playing a little game called NFT Battle Miners, which is pretty similar to a Wolf Game in the sense that you have planets, and then you have mining operations, and then you have these PvP betting battles where you use your NFTs that you get in NFT Battle Miners to like fight each other, and then whoever wins gets the resources. So like NFT Battle Miners are actually doing that casino thing already with NFTs on Wax. So there's quite a few. I mean, I'm not sure I can say that I really did research, or I can personally sort of put a really clear research case for Wax, because I haven't done research. It's more that I've just kind of socially drifted into a number of interesting projects on Wax.
So philosophy.
That's all I can say.
I got a question. That game you're talking about. Well, here's the thing. So with NFTs, it's basically all lives on Clubhouse and Twitter, and it's all like ETH and Solana. There's barely anything for any other chain. So that's why we're not hearing about Wax there. But also with that game, like how many players are in there? Like is there lots of players? Like what's the floor price of the biggest project on Wax?
Oh, I would say the floor price is probably very, very low. But of course, the lower the price, and the floor price is low. I'd also say that, like for example, NFT Battle Miners, there's only 3,000 players in NFT Battle Miners, what is it? I'd say, but some of their legendary NFTs, I think, might go for £1,000 or something like that. So like these are all very small projects. But on the other hand, the smaller the project, the bigger the growth potential to a certain extent. And
it is so small floors, but let me ask you this then. So how's the volume trading, right? So maybe it does list at $5, but it gets to 1,000. Does that happen, or is it like it's stuck at 1,000?
I really like. I have to be honest. Like these are just projects I kind of drifted into. They seem like, I mean, the NFT Battle Miners people they've been developing their game consistently for like 6 months so far. So it's definitely not a rug pull in the sense that I've seen progress in the game. Like I say, it's a very small base. But to a certain extent, I think a small base also has kind of potential, and I think that there's a lot of games on Wax that have a very there's a lot of kind of gaming projects on Wax that have a very kind of small base, and there's lots of kind of little indie projects, and I think to a certain extent the fact that Wax is sort of commercial, actually, I think there's like. I think maybe the fact that Wax is commercial makes it actually more plug and play. So to a certain extent, the fact that it's sort of a more kind of commercially commercial type thing makes it actually easier for people who to actually just plug and play and start all sorts of little indie projects on there.
Gotcha. I've heard that argument too. So here's my thing, because I know a lot of people. There are gaming projects on Wax and whatnot, but like in my opinion, like Solana is going to dominate the gaming space, and it's just a magnitude of order bigger than Wax. But also like, yeah, with low floor prices, like the cheapest, the lowest. I mean, sorry, the biggest floor price on Ethereum is like almost $400,000, and they have several projects in the six-figure range, highs $70K range. The biggest project floor price on Solana is about $20K. That's the SMBs. I'm not going to count the Boogles because that's only 100. But it's just size, right? Like just there's more people every day coming onto those two chains, and Solana I think is going to dominate gaming. But let's pause that. Nepa, I'm curious about your thoughts.
Ultimately, it's just a matter of developer adoption, right? Ethereum has the first mover advantage. They have the biggest projects because they're around first, but Solana has the biggest amount of developers, and it's growing at a faster rate than anything else, right? And so you get the developers, you get the projects, and you get the projects, you get the marketing teams, you get more people onboarded onto the chain. And so I think as a result of having the low gas fees, at some point, I mean, this is an unpopular opinion, but at some point, Solana NFTs, I think in terms of the total volume traded and the total like market cap is going to surpass Ethereum, because the developer adoption for Solana right now puts them where Ethereum was maybe 2 years ago in terms of their entire total addressable market. But in a couple of years, once they get that clout and once they get that adoption that Ethereum has and a couple of celebrity endorsements, they already have Shaq. Once they get some more people, I think, it's going to become way more mainstream, and it just all starts with the developer adoption. So for any other chain or coin that we're talking about, like whether it is Near or Wax or whatever, I think developer adoption is the key to early success.
100.
I totally agree on that. And to add something, when you think about Solana versus Ethereum NFTs or the chain in general, so the Ethereum network as it is right now, unless I don't know if it will change in the future in a massive way, but let's say it doesn't change much. If it just, let's say, has less fees, 50% less fees or whatever, it will still be the chain that the big boys play in some way or form. Like it will be the transactions of 100K and plus for NFTs. For Solana, it will be probably the less than 100K. Of course, there will be projects more than 100K worth, but I think mostly it will be differentiated on that level. And so what's the TAM, the total addressable market of the Solana population under 100K? What's the TAM of the plus 100K population for Ethereum?
One question I have is, what do you think the possibility of like single projects completely turning around the future of a chain that you have, say, a small niche chain that has a small market capitalization, and then there's a couple of projects on them, and just like one project just gets huge amounts of adoption because people just sort of glom onto it and it explodes. And could one blockbuster project just like take an obscure chain and like absolutely like inflate its market capitalization out of nowhere? I was wondering what you thought about that.
But why would they choose a random chain when they can use Ethereum or Solana?
Well, the thing is that people choose random chains all the time. If you look at small projects, if you look at like pick an obscure chain, and you'll find a few projects on it. For example, I was looking into this thing called Seeds Hypha, which was started by Ricky Cordon, and he wanted to create this sandbox for starting ecologically friendly communities and stuff like that, and coordinating them on software. And the chain he went with was Telos. He looked at all the chains and he just decided that Telos was his like favorite chain. And then I kind of looked at Telos, and it had a market capitalization of 25 million. The fact of the matter is that
I would not look at that chain. That's way too low. Right? That's way too low in the current state of crypto. And so let's get to your first question, which was like, could some project blow up and increase the market cap, yeah, 100% that could happen. That's on at this point, on a small market cap chain, it's improbable, right? Because right now you have ETH, then you have Solana. Next up is Near, and Near is like the liquidity on Near is nowhere near it is on Solana, and that's like basically the third for like NFTs, and then you have Tezos, right? Like for example, so it's like and Wax doesn't even register on there. So you have a couple of guys from me and a couple of Solana guys went over to Near. We bought up some floors over there, and everything 10x'd. And then everyone on Near was getting happy, but then we left, and then the floors just dropped again. It's that's like capital movement, right? So I'm just not interested in anything like under $1 billion in market cap. Like no. But Nepa, let's go to you. What's your high conviction, or what are you looking at these days?
Hang on 2 seconds. I just want to thank you, Philosopher King, for sharing your idea and your thoughts. Wax isn't something that I don't think any of us have looked at for months. So yeah, thanks for coming in and sharing that with us.
Yeah, and to close also with that, last thing to close this conversation, I shared a picture on DM State's chat. Basically, it's network effects. It's all about network effects. If you have one project only, it's not enough, I think. When you have 15, 20, 100, 1,000 projects, it's way easier. And yeah, let's continue.
Cool, Leon, where we go next?
Nippa, how you been? What you been up to?
Okay, so I think the question was like your biggest holding. You guys guess. Please guess. What do you guys think is my biggest holding? Does anyone know?
Oh,
NFTs?
Yeah, of course. But which one? On what blockchain,
Solana.
Yeah. No freaking surprise. But yeah, Solana NFTs. I've got probably most of my net worth in them, to be honest. But I didn't put most of my net worth in the NFTs, but I've gained that much. You know what I'm saying? So as much of I've gained a lot, and that's mostly in Solana NFTs. And so what I've been doing this morning is I am selling off some. I'm selling off the shitty ones first. And then I'm waiting on a few ones to pump. I've got Soul Gods, and I honestly believe that can reach triple digits this year. As soon as it does, I'm offloading that. Because I just have a goal. I need to, be liquid of 100 Solanas. That's my goal right now. Because I've already surpassed that value, but that's what I'm doing. But yeah, my main focus is Solana NFTs. Honestly, I started off with ETH. I want to get back into a little bit of ETH, not gonna lie. They're just Leon was mentioning how the liquidity on Near is not as much as Solana, but the liquidity on Ethereum is not as much as you know what I'm saying? So it just goes down from there. Ethereum, Solana, Near. Liquidity just keeps going down in blockchains, and Ethereum obviously has the most, which I feel there's a lot of opportunities on there. So that's what I've been into lately. I have been offloading some stocks too, because I don't really focus on stocks anymore. So I've been trying to just manage a little bit of everything, and I'm all over the place. But yeah, that's my focus for now.
Cool, thanks for your input. C-Troms, I know you're not into NFTs, so we're going to pivot into some shares. So what you're liking at the moment? Are you buying anything at the moment? What's your biggest holding?
Actually, I sold all of it and bought a bunch of NFTs yesterday. So sorry to disappoint.
Stop lying to my friends.
No, I'm kidding. So for me, I've been doing a lot of kind of portfolio cleanup and everything. I had last year. I over allocated in some tap calls before a bunch of stuff went bad, and then Peloton was also used to be a very big holding of mine. I definitely went to school a little bit on those two trades, but I've recovered pretty much all of what I lost at this point. One thing that I have been doing some of is I've been just picking up a couple of companies and actually trading covered calls on some of these things, just because with these fluctuations, you're kind of watching things at the very least trade sideways. So for that, it was kind of working out pretty well for me. I usually buy things that expire within 30 days or so. Theta's really on my side at that point, on the sell side. So I've been doing that, and then just getting out of really the crappy stuff. So as far as the question, though, my biggest holdings that I have right now are probably fairly tied between Tesla and SoFi, actually. And I'm not even gonna try and explain most of my thesis on SoFi, because I'll throw Tev under the bus for that, because he's actually his videos on his podcast were some of the ones that originally got me thinking about it, and then I did some of my own research, but he has far better ways of explaining that for me. But basically, I was watching a lot of the trading, that was going on from more C-level executives and stuff. When management is really bullish on their company, that's usually a good sign for me. I think with Biden pushing the college loans, deferring college loans even longer, that's like the bulk of SoFi's income. So I think once that expires, which it's due to happen in, I think, the next few months here, that's just going to be a large amount of cash coming back in for them. And I also just know a bunch of people that are using the product, and they like the product too. So social arb has definitely been difficult lately. I think even Chris would say that to most people. So I'm kind of taking what I can where I can, and Tesla for me is just a place that I put money in there and I don't even think about it, because that's just something that I'm really not interested in selling. I think the company's got a lot of things going for them. I'm really excited to see the AI stuff that they're working on. I'm hoping that at some point we'll see them saying, hey, we're going to license this out to a bunch of different car companies that are inevitably going to want to do robo-taxi stuff, and because I think they have a better edge than just making cars. So those are my big reasons there.
Cool, thanks, C-Troms. Leon, can I skip you? Because I want to keep on stocks for a bit, and then we'll come back and do some more crypto.
Yeah, I'll go at the end.
Okay, Pedro, we know you love the Elon. We know you're well into Airbnb. What you're liking at the moment, what you're seeing, what's your insights?
First, before I say anything, I want to thank everybody that is listening here. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see Ali here. I see Sugar Mountain, 7 Seas, just like Ali. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. That's super cool. If any of you want to talk, please tap the little hand right there. There's the request to speak. You come here, talk to us. You're super welcome to do that. And then regarding Tesla, everybody, first, it is my biggest position, but everybody knows that. But everybody knows the bull case. I want you guys to tell me why Tesla's a Ponzi scheme and why I'm going to lose all of my money tomorrow. I want to know that so I can protect myself.
Who said
I don't think anyone's actually saying that. They might say it to wind you up. Is anyone saying that in the chat?
Yeah, where's Meow at?
I think the only people saying that have a short position.
Yeah, I think that's just general chat winding you up, Pedro. I don't think anyone actually believes that.
No, I love it.
Getting trolled.
Please roast me anytime. I want to know why I'm going to lose my money so I can think about it. And if you guys don't convince me, that's on me, you know what I mean?
I think Tesla's overvalued. I'm not going to say it's a Ponzi scheme. I mean, obviously, if there's electric cars actually coming out the production line, then it's not an actual Ponzi scheme. But I do think Tesla is overvalued. I just don't think they can defend the kind of monopoly that they like. There's producing a product, and then there's producing a product that nobody else can produce. And Tesla produces a good product, but I don't know. I think the big car companies, and there's all these other sort of electric car companies as well. Was it the NIO and another big problem with Tesla is that they're not Chinese and they're doing business in China, and China has a kind of a habit of basically inviting Western countries into their land, and then once they've set up all their operations, sending spies in and to grab all their intellectual property, then setting up Chinese companies that do the exact same thing, and then the Chinese government sets up all these laws that sort of unfairly put the Western sort of blow-in companies at disadvantages and favor the sort of new Chinese startups that have stolen all their IP. And I think I think it's entirely possible that Tesla could befall that fate.
Yeah, but
So,
you
yeah,
can see that.
we've actually seen that in the UK with a lot of UK companies of that happening in China. So yeah, that is correct. Pedro, any response?
Can I take that?
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody wants to answer before me. Please go.
Yeah, so Tesla's also my largest position, and like Pedro, I've also been wondering what negatives, and I have a couple of other potential negatives, but it's still my biggest position. So on that point, I think with regards to the overvalued point, they're a mega cap, over $1 trillion company growing at 70% like year over year. It's a very slippery slope to use traditional valuation methods on Tesla because the PE compression is so large that you're just going to price yourself out. Because let's say they're trading at a 250 PE, next year it's 130, next year it's 60 because they're growing so damn fast. So you can't really use price to earnings or any of these traditional like EV to EBITDA. Like you can't use any of these because the growth rate is so fast. The only thing that I can use is price to sales, but I can't even use that because their product just has a built-in moat in terms of all of these competitors. And so I can't even use any type of traditional metrics to judge how overvalued or undervalued it is because of their moat, and they're fully vertically integrated, which even builds further into that moat. Okay, so that's the first point. The second point with regards to China, I don't disagree with you. I do agree that China has a way of sheltering its own and sort of being confrontational to foreign companies. But here's the 2 points that I will say on that. First of all, Shanghai is the distribution center for all of the Eastern world. So not only China, but also India, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Indonesia, like all of these countries get their deliveries from China. And so even if China were to take a more aggressive stance, I don't think it would necessarily, like it would hurt, of course, but I think Tesla has strategically built in China because number one, the labor, number two, the demand, they're the biggest EV, demand in the world. And number three, they have a gateway to the entire Eastern hemisphere. And then the second point is even if China were to take a confrontational stance with Tesla, it doesn't benefit them at this point because they have like the world's biggest population and as a result, the world's biggest demand on electrification. And companies in China strictly aren't going to meet that demand because it's even worse. I mean, if you thought like a 14-month backlog was bad in the Western world, you should go look at China because, NIO, XPeng, all of these guys put together is not going to meet that demand. And so if China were to take a confrontational stance with Tesla, it wouldn't be in any time in the near foreseeable future, I don't think personally, because of just that sheer demand from the population to become electrified. I think, that's one of their government mandates as well, is to further that move to electrification. Just Tesla helps get them there. And it shows, right, from the stance that the Chinese government has taken to Tesla, they've been super favorable and it's been very collaborative on that stance as well. So it's not going to happen for the foreseeable future, but even if it does happen, Tesla is using China or Chinese labor to fulfill their deliveries in all the Eastern hemisphere. So that's just my response on those 2 points.
I just want to make one more bear case that's separate from the China issue, and that is that I believe that a significant fraction of Tesla's profit margin comes from a cult following. That Tesla have this unique ability to, well, not unique ability, but they have the ability to sell cars at enormous premiums. That the kind of the Model X and the Model S and all those were those are premium cars that have sold that with price tags well above the average car. The Tesla now has a market capitalization in excess of Ford and like really major car companies. And the fact of the matter is that if they are going to scale up production on the scale of Ford or General Motors, they're not going to be able to sell those kind of volumes of cars at the kind of premiums that they've been selling the Model X and the Model S. So when you talk about like scaling up to actually justify, $1 trillion valuation, market capitalization or something like that's going to result in a precipitous decline in their profit margins as well.
So can I respond to that as well?
Go ahead.
And okay, so totally get the point. I think I don't disagree with the cult following. That's just a part of just Elon's personality. He's very polarizing. You either love him or hate him. And with regards to the market caps, here's the fallacy of comparing it to traditional OEMs. Like if you compare it to a Ford or GM, like all traditional OEMs were down year over year in terms of deliveries, in terms of their growth rate. Like if you go look at 2021 to 2022, year over year, just by the Q1 numbers or even the Q4 numbers, they're down in terms of their deliveries. And I think Tesla was one of, if not the only automaker that was actually up in terms of their demand. But you could just chalk that up to say Ford and GM and Hyundai and Nissan and all these companies are mature and Tesla's growing. Fair enough. I won't argue that point. What I will say is that Tesla has a unique competitive advantage over these companies that the other ones don't, which is the over-the-air updates. And number one, and number two, that unlocks for them a software margin. They have a 25% take rate in terms of their full self-driving package. That's pure margin, right? That's pure profit. So even if they sell their cars at, let's say, a discount, there's a lot of people, 1 in 4, that's taking their software offering. That's pure margin that other OEMs don't have because they don't have that over-the-air update, number one. And then number two, the fact that they're raising their prices is they're only raising it because of that demand, because they can't actually fulfill all those orders. They're supply constrained, and it's a temporary, right? Because we know that their goal in the next 3 to 5 is to have one of the most affordable cars in the market. And if you look at some of these competitors, it's pretty on par with what NIO is selling theirs. Lucid is way very expensive, and so you got to understand that Tesla is making something in the order of 30 to 35% margins on these cars, whereas all of these other OEMs, they make a lot more on traditional gas cars than they do on electric cars. Electric cars have smaller margins, and the reason that Tesla can compete is this software offering, is their full self-driving segment, because a lot of traditional OEMs, they're actually just breaking even, or some of them are even losing money when you consider that operating cost required in the shift to electrification, right? And so Tesla can compensate all that, number one, because they were an electric company all along, and number two, because they have the margins for full self-driving, which literally nobody else does. And so if you just add that on to the gross margins, the profit margins for the company, then it makes sense why. It's not necessarily dependent on what are their fixed costs or cost of goods sold, to produce a car and then to sell it. It's what is, number one, currently a software offering that they can offer, and number two, what is a potential software offering that they can offer over the air, let's say 3 years down the line. Like you can buy a 2017 car and get the latest version of full self-driving as if you bought a car yesterday. There's a lot of power in that because of the churn rate of these cars. Like I can buy a car from 2017.
The key, just to say that, the key point is that that Tesla needs to grow to justify its market capitalization. The growth of Tesla is absolutely necessary. If Tesla just said, okay, we're going to be able to maintain our existing sales revenue for the foreseeable future and maintain our existing profit margin for the foreseeable future, it's going to hold up for the next 100 years. The price of the stock would tank because that stock price needs growth. And the point is, the only way they're going to achieve growth is to boost their volumes, and that once they start really trying to boost their volumes and hit that mass market, the profit margins are going to tank. I don't think there's any way around it. They're going to have much more narrow profit margins as the volumes go up.
I don't think anybody's arguing that. I mean, every stock needs to grow. The market's forward-looking, and they price things in. The fact that Netflix is down 35% today, off the back of they're not growing, right? That's just a built-in assumption to Tesla, maybe more acute than any other stock, because there's a lot more expectations that are built into that. But I think it's it's a moot point, right? Like I think everybody, whether they're bullish or bearish, is not arguing the point that Tesla needs to keep their growth rate. It's just an expectation that the market is putting into the stock.
All right, everybody here is so polite. Nobody interrupts anybody. I love this. Like, I want you guys to be a little more vicious, man. Come on, I love this.
No, let's keep it polite. Let's keep it British. Come on.
I can get vicious, dude. But go ahead, Pedro.
Yeah, philosophy. Just to answer your question, 2 seconds, because I think Tav already made a lot of good points, and I don't want to make this a freaking Tesla Discord room. So regarding your market share, yes, market share is going to drop, but that's not a problem. For example, if you see Apple today has 13% of the smartphone market share, but their profitability is over 70% of the entire market. If you see how much money everybody makes with smartphone, even though Apple only sells 13% of the entire pie, they make over 70% of the money. So I see Tesla pretty much being in the same position. And why do I see that? It's pretty simple. It's because everybody comes to compete with Tesla. They are pretty much losing money with every car they're making, especially OEMs, right? Maybe Rivian and Lucid are not going to necessarily lose money with every car they make in a couple of years, but OEMs will, just because it's kind of devouring their ICE vehicles share, right? So it's really hard to compete with a company that is making a very nice margin, even if the margin goes lower, which I don't think it will because of software. They're going to start making money with software. With the margins of those are over 90%, so that's going to compensate. But let's say that does not happen at all, and Tesla margins goes from 25% to let's say 15%, whatever. They're still making way more money than everybody else. So I think the same situation is going to happen. To kind of make the quickest answer I can for your first point. And the China point, like Tev said, nobody knows what CCP is going to do. If Elon says something that rubs, Xi off, and then he decides to be pissed off, nobody knows. That can totally happen. That is a gigantic risk. With that being said, China needs Tesla more today than Tesla needs China, okay? Even though Tesla needs China a lot, don't get me wrong, and that risk is a little slower now that Berlin and Gigafactory taxes are up, but Tesla needs China a lot, but China needs Tesla even more just because of technology. If Tesla today gets out of China, it's terrible for Tesla, yes, but there are a lot of countries in the whole damn world that are gonna literally say, please come here, and China will lose all the access for that technology. Would that change in 10 years? Likely, yes. In 10 years, probably the wheel's gonna spin, but by then, Tesla gonna have X amount of gigafactories, so that risk will be diminished. So those are my 2 answers for your 2 points.
I just want to throw one other thing into this, and this might be longer term, but for me, I'm not trading Tesla just because they're a good car company either, though, because Tesla has energy that they're doing with their batteries and solar panels. They have the Dojo platform, which I briefly mentioned earlier. So if they can start offering this, ML training basically to these other car companies or to other people that want this, like Tesla hasn't been wasting the fact that they do have a cult following. They've been collecting a ton of data on how autonomous driving could work and better help that. So if they can monetize that too, that's just like another thing on top of it. So for me, I think Tesla is hard to compare against other car companies because they do have other irons in the fire that are just not related at all to just selling cars, and it's such a long-term play for me. If I was worried about short-term, I might discount those things, but for me, it's longer term, so I take that into account too.
So a lot of good feedback here. My 2 cents, I was going to add more, but just 2 cents is, no other car company can compete with Tesla. It's like even the big ones, they can't pivot like a company like Tesla can. And also the China thing, that can happen to anyone. So, but yeah, Pedro, I see you unmuted again, and then we can go to Jenks.
Because philosophy brought the biggest point ever, because he's not saying Tesla sucks. He's saying the price of the stock, it is priced to perfection, because if anything happens with the growth of Tesla, the stock's going to tank it. That's completely different what the company is doing, right? And I agree with him. The thing is, so far, the 50% average growth in production is still there. Even with Shanghai being closed for pretty much a month, the numbers are still there. So the day those numbers are not there, and it's for a reason that is not short term, that a Wall Street understands that, oh, this is a temporary issue. The day that happens, then yes, the stock price is going to get destroyed. I just don't see that happening anytime soon. I don't see any signs of that happening. Like any demand issues, estimate times on the website going lower. So if you start seeing that, then yes, that's definitely a big red flag. But so far, I'm not seeing it. And like C-Trump said, everything else, right? Talking about Optimus, I see that as pretty much as a free call option when you buy the share. Like, we don't know if that's going to happen, but it's possible. And if it does, then freaking Tesla just solved labor problem for humanity. Then how do you value that? But because there's no way to value that today, for me, I just put a 0 because it doesn't matter. But if it does, it's just a free call option. That's how I see it.
Yeah, great point, Pedro. And one other thing, like the price also, like there's true, like there's this cult investing kind of thing. So as far as being valued, I mean, it can go way higher than now. There's no like fundamental value kind of thesis anymore. Like the crowd's pick, right? Like, I mean, this Moonbird I'm rocking right now, this guy's over $100,000. I could sell him today for $100,000. I'm not going to, but a lot of people would say no, that's worthless. But the market's willing to pay, so that's how things are kind of valued these days. But I think we're done with Tesla. Jinx, unless you have a comment on Tesla, and then we can go to you.
Just to say, I've bought and sold Tesla for profit about 4 times. So when it dips a decent amount under 1 trill, I'm a buyer, and when it goes over, I'm a seller. This is mainly due to the limit of research that I've actually done. Obviously, as we've seen on the call, there's a lot more knowledgeable people than me, but that's just a bit of a swing trade that I've been doing, so I am currently out at the moment. And Leon, please sell your Moonbird if it's worth more than 100K. What did you spend on it?
This guy I spent about 58K, and he's valued at around 116 at the moment. But no, I'm not selling this guy, dude. I'm gonna stake him to I'll consider selling him towards the end of the year. Because there's staking coming, and this is a super rare. He's more rare. There's only 150 robots, and of the robots, he's one of the more rarer robots. The floor on Moonbirds is 20.5 E, so that's about 62,000 is the floor. Okay, so wait, am I going to me? So yeah, my biggest holdings.
Whoa! I haven't had my go yet, Leon. What are you doing?
Oh, you asked me a question, bro?
You're hogging the limelight.
My bad. Let's go.
Just to welcome Black Box, who's come and joined us in the chat. We will get to you, Black Box, one of our regular members from General Chat. So my biggest holding at the moment is actually cash. I didn't do a meet Kevin or anything crazy like that. I've just been taking profits over the last year. Don't particularly like this market. Although I've been starting to nibble recently, so I bought some Disney today. I've worked with Disney a couple of times before. I know it's a bit of a boring trade, but their parks are unbelievably slammed. They put the prices up about 5 times now, and people just keep going and going and going. I think it might fall further because on the last 2 earning calls, it's very much been trading based on this Disney Plus numbers. And if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, the platform's a little bit disappointing. Obviously, we've got Obi-Wan coming at the end of May, kind of tapping into the vintage Star Wars. So we'll see if that does anything. I'm not fully positioned, so if it does fall any further, I'm a buyer of Disney. That's just a bit of a long-term hold. And then in terms of trends, because I don't really like the market, I've been looking at trends that might be happening in this year. So at the moment, China is in lockdown. So I've been buying Win around 72. They're due to award their next licenses. They pushed it back from April to December. So I'll be holding that till December. But as we know, with COVID, at some point in the future, they'll be able to get out of their lockdown and then go and spend in Macau again. And I do expect that they're 30% in Vegas to be very busy this summer as everyone goes on holiday. And then I do have some money in the kind of Ukraine trade. Obviously, it's very sad what's happening over there. Hopefully, at some point, it will resolve itself. Obviously, it's going to be a horrible situation for some time, but at some point they're going to come out the other end. And I think what will be great is all the Western countries will help Ukraine rebuild the country. I think that will happen. And so we've just been in the Eurostocks channel kind of brainstorming some companies that might be able to help Ukraine and be part of that kind of rebuild process. In terms of my biggest holding after cash, it's Bitcoin. That is what it is. It's your grandma's currency. It's the one everyone's heard of. It's not sexy. It's not gonna, fly to the moon like some of the other cryptos that we've talked about. But I think it's the one that eventually everyone will hold. That's me. Any questions on that, or we can fire over to Leon?
I think Tim was next, then Tev.
Oh, mine is so boring. I'm such a social arbitrator, and with this market, that's nearly impossible. So I've moved mostly into my private trades right now. Have some ApeCoin, and then just my long-term Tesla. That's about it for me.
That was quick. I love it.
Okay, Tev, you're next, and I'll go.
Tesla's my largest position. It's about 36% of my portfolio. I just keep adding to it every couple of weeks. I just buy. I'm pretty price agnostic. I just buy more shares. I think the stock split is going to be a big deal this year. Tesla stock split in August 2020. It went up about 80% since the stock split was announced to the actual date it was split. It was announced on something like August 10th, and it was split on August 31st. So I think this earnings call, we're going to get some news around when that actual date is for that the investor day, and I'm like 99% sure the vote is going to pass. I think everybody wants to split their stock, wants Tesla to split it. It's just a matter of formality. So I'm playing that in the short term, but for all the reasons listed, I won't hammer it to death. I'm pretty bullish on Tesla. And then the second is just my Solana bag, because NFTs, similar to NEPA, they've just blown up for me. And so that's my second position. And then I have some Revolve is actually my third company that is sturdy as a rock. Profitable company, no debt. They have a price to sales of under 2. Keep growing. They're growing 70-80% a year. It's a stupidly safe pick. And I've been holding them for something like 2 or 3 years now, and I'm up a 3x or so on Revolve. So they're just third, just as a result of the amount of time that I've been holding them. So yeah, that's me.
What is Revolve?
They're like an e-commerce retailer. Instead of having the physical stores, Revolve, what they do is they're an e-commerce retailer, but they partner with a lot of influencers who make their own lines. They'll partner with one of the Kardashians, and then she'll make her own line of, I don't know, whatever, her own clothing line, and then Revolve will sell it on their site. And so their marketing channels, and their actually they have one of their Kardashians as their chief marketing person. So they're a very hip company in terms of the demographic that they're going after. But yeah, basically they're a retailer.
Gotcha.
Revolve's marketing is wild.
Yeah.
I'll have to check them out. Maybe it's not a product I need to buy on there. Okay, so I guess I'll go real quick. I'm zero stocks at the moment. I do love Tesla. I want to get back into Tesla at some point. I want to trade Tesla options again, sell side. I want 100 shares or more later. I say go into 5-10K over time. Just like all the reasons I said, right? Cult, people love Elon, future, all that kind of dominance. But anyways, right now I'm 71% in NFTs. Two biggest holdings, not recently, is Moonbirds. 2 Moonbirds, a total of 180,000. The second Moonbird, though, I kind of partially owned that with a couple other people. Azuki, I had two Azukis, and that's worth about 152,000. But those are just the ETH ones. The Solana ones, now they're a lot cheaper. So I've got like a ton of different little Solana ones. Chill Chat, probably the biggest exposure, and that's 12 NFTs for 36K. But I mean, it's revolving. So one interesting thing is like the space moves so quickly in NFTs. It's like you could think of options, as a derivative of stocks, and NFTs as a derivative of crypto. It's very unique in the way they trade, because there are these hype cycles, but also there's some that, as you see, you follow influencers and you follow big money flow. And like the Kevin Rose project, oh my goodness, I feel bad I didn't put up a high conviction doc. I should have, because there's a lot to put in that doc, but it was no brainer to me. It's just following where the money goes, and over time, like some of these brands, like they're almost kind of like fashion brands, and new Web3, like we call them projects, but they're basically companies. So which company is like the cool company, right? And these influencers are like just big whales that just jump in projects. I guess any questions?
Leon, if you had $0 in, just you're starting fresh and you could only invest in one Solana NFT right now, which one would it be with the knowledge that you have?
With $0?
Yeah, like if you had nothing else invested, I mean, like your portfolio sizing was not a consideration.
Oh, gotcha. Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha. And I have the cash. I would go heavy into SMBs, Chill Chats, D Gods, Soul God, Fox Federation, Cats on Crack. Let me think. I think that's a good. Yeah, with Solana, I mean, you could have 100 different things in your portfolio, because there's a lot of potential blue chips, but the things I just mentioned off, those are the blue chips. Oh yeah, DGen apes, I would get at least, I would get like 10 DGen apes. I would definitely start with SMB though, because they are the number one blue chip on Solana.
Dude, there's really a project called Cats on Crack. Is that for real?
Dude, Cats on Crack. By the way, I started some drama with that too. So Cats on Crack. I know, a terrible name, but so these cats. And it's weird. So I've known like the Solana like community for a while, since August, and there's these new people that are in Solana, and I don't know any of them. I guess there's a team from South America somewhere. Pablo is the founder, but they have like this vibe and this culture to it, right? And the way the cats welcome you to their community is insane. Like I posted like some cats, I get like 400 likes on my tweet, and then I did this trade which caused some controversy like a week ago. I traded one SMB and one DGen ape plus 35 Solana for a rank 9 weird cat on crack. Well, not weird, but it was a cool hoodie one. And anyways, I had so much engagement. I posted I had 30,000 engagement on all my tweets. And I was invited to their Discord, and like literally like 40 minutes of people saying welcome Leon, and that happens more to others, not just me. So I was like, holy shit, this community is crazy. But anyways,
by the way,
yeah.
By the way, Pedro, the cheapest cat you can buy today is about $5,000 US.
Sorry, man, I can't stop laughing. This shit's too funny.
Yeah, and the rare cat I bought, that he's about 30K in that trade. But yeah, it caused a little war between the DGen apes and Cats on Crack. Like, it was hilarious just watching it all play out.
How many? One question I have is like, what would be the number of users in a blockchain game that would sort of make that blockchain game kind of impressive? Like, how many users does a blockchain game need to have before it's like, this is a really impressive game?
I guess 100,000 monthly active users. I mean, that's just starting, obviously. I mean, I would say similar to regular gaming.
It depends who the users are and how loud they are on social media.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, okay. How many how many content creators would be impressive, like for a game, like in terms of like YouTube or something like that?
You need a lot, but again, it's who they are too, right? So yeah, you need a lot, and also I need to know who they are on Twitter.
Yeah, I think like if you can have the top 2 influencers on Solana, just those 2 people and nobody else promote a project, they have so much like clout amongst, like if you could have like Big Brain and HGE both tweet about something, that project is going to probably like 3x overnight. I mean, Leon, keep me honest.
No, that's true. Yeah. Big Brain tweets something, people listen. And Big Brain, Soul Legend, huge.
Leon, today, which game do you think will be the biggest? Is it still X Infinity or is it another one now?
So I think X Infinity kind of topped out recently. And but right now we don't know. We don't know who is going to be the biggest game. There's a lot of competitors out there. I mean, I'm kind of a little biased towards Chill Chat because I did invest in their tokens, but because they're building a place to build games on, and I'm guessing there could be a big game that gets built on there that we don't even know about yet. But I mean, there's Star Atlas, which is 5 years away. Like who knows what's going to happen? There's Aurora Project. There's games on ETH, but yeah, right now we don't know.
What about the fantasy football one? What's the name? I forgot the damn name.
Tweets?
No, I think it's Rare, something like that. I think it's So Rare. I think that's what it is. That was pretty big too. So, but I was asking just because to tag along with the previous questions. Like, if you know the biggest game, that is the best comparison you have right now for numbers until the next big game comes, and then you have a new comp. But that's kind of how I would do it.
Dude, Pedro, but like think about, just think about the blockchain as the internet. Like to draw a comparison, right? Like we're in the late 80s, early 90s. What was the biggest game? Like let's say Space Invader or, like, I don't know, like one of these, like Call of Duty 1, and like that was the biggest game. It's not necessarily that the biggest game today, because if you're investing for the next 3 years or 5 years, and especially in Solana or Ethereum, the space changes so drastically, very fast that it's almost like the stock market on steroids. Because if I'm hoping for a 10x in terms of the stock I'm invested in over 10 years, I'm going to get maybe 100x over 10 months, in the crypto space. And the only reason for that is because it's so nascent, it's so early days. So looking for the biggest game today won't get you, in my opinion, further than 12 months out or 18 months out, if I'm going to be very generous in terms of like what the potential is, right? Because there's always an up and comer, an underdog that's always taking that next spot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, bro.
Sorry, that like kind of that the reason we're kind of interested, I guess, in blockchain games is precisely because they got huge growth potential. So you don't, at some level, you don't actually want the game to be as big as you don't want the biggest blockchain game to have as many users as the biggest video game, because at that point there'd be no room for growth. But the idea is that blockchain games are this tiny sector, and we hope that it's going to blow up in the future into something that's as big as some of the classic video games. So then, of course, like which there's thousands and thousands of little blockchain games right now, and most of them are not that impressive. And then the question is which ones are gonna sort of be lifted up by that tide, and which ones are just going to go down to zero. And most of them are going to go down to zero. So I mean, you want something that's kind of maybe small by normal standards, so there's growth potential, but also kind of big enough to at least have some degree of promise or possibility of growing rather than just getting washed under with all the other losers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is like I just started NFTs, right? Like I started in the beginning of Jan, and since that time, my entire whatever Solana I started with has done about a 5x or 6x in the last 4 months. And I've had a couple of projects go to zero or near zero. And what I will say is, because the space is so dynamic, because you can't necessarily latch onto one, like there is no one like Apple, let's say, that you can just latch onto and then chill for 20 years and be safe. the two things that you have to look out for in anything you latch onto is community. And by community, I mean like how adamant are the people who are holding? Like if there's some bad catalyst, what happens to the price? Does it automatically tank? Are people undercutting each other, or does it stay pretty stable? And number two is the development team. Like people say you should look at the roadmap, all that, but at the end of the day, if you have a dev team that's always on, the roadmap itself will then play out because they're always innovating, they're always introducing new stuff. Like my profile picture right now is from a community that I would argue has, probably top 3 development teams in the entire Solana space in terms of the utility that they provide, because they provide all of their tools for free. You don't even need to hold one of these NFTs. It's just completely free. And how I judge it is if that tool were to go away, if that utility were to go away, and Leon can keep me honest, the utility in that Solana space would be like disrupted because of all the tools that the Foxes, provide just for free. And so what I look for is community and development teams, because you can't necessarily latch onto the actual project name itself or to the actual roadmap if you have a shitty development team or if you have a shitty community.
Yeah, 100. Yeah. You need a strong community.
I'm going to be, we've got a couple of members who haven't had a chance to talk yet, so I'm going to refer to them. Black Box, welcome. What are you liking at the moment? What's your biggest holding? Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking.
How's it going? I think most people might know mine, but currently it's WBD, Warner Bros. Discovery. I'm extremely bullish on that. I had shares when it was just Discovery. That merger was quite intense, seeing all that go down. Traded 70 million shares that first day, so that was pretty wild. But in terms of what I see in them, I mean, I don't have to go through all of it, but if you basically pull up their brand list on their website, you got everything from HBO to the home network shows to DC to the list goes on. It's quite literally, I think, over 20 brands in that category now. It's a pure play on streaming. I figure I watch HBO Max pretty consistently, so why not put some money in it, see what comes of it. They've got Euphoria, they've got all these shows. Then there's the whole movie side with Dune, like we were talking about, and Batman, So there's that whole aspect. I personally believe that DC is going to be on the run for the next 5 years as dominating kind of this superhero genre again. Now that, although Marvel's still making movies, obviously, and they're fairly larger, I think there's a new spotlight in town with this Batman movie, and I think it's going to propel DC considerably further, and Warner Bros. Is ready to capitalize on that. As for my second largest holding, it's AKA Brand, $500 million company. Princess Polly is their main contributor to their company. It's a online women's fashion company, and kind of as Chris likes to point out all the time, that Wall Street seems to extremely undervalue anything that deals with women because they don't know how to price it right, whether that's makeup, clothes, Revolve. I want to point back to that. That is probably one of the best trades. I want to get in that. I am extremely bullish on that as well. But those are my two really main holdings here. I've been able to kind of really put in true social arb, whether it's looking at website traffic and overlaying that on Google search trends, asking people in public that I know what their thoughts are on it, not looking at anything financial. I don't care for numbers. I don't care for PE ratios. I don't care for anything about that. I care for what social traffic, what are people talking about. I've been able to do that with a few trades. I've gotten out of them now. I don't want to talk for too long here, but I was on, there was On Holdings, which was the shoe company that DumbMoney made a video on. That was a great one. There was this company called You, which is Clear, and I was able to use that kind of as a foot traffic for airports. And clearly, the airlines reported some of the best earnings they've ever reported, and Clear gets the first amount of that because people have to get through security first before they get on a plane, and you can bet that they're going to make money on that. They've ran 50% since their last earnings. There's a lot of stuff on my mind here, but as I said, I'm only holding kind of those two large positions right now. So that's what I got.
AKA is an interesting one, and for those who don't know, it's been discussed a fair amount in Discord as kind of a trend amongst women. They're based out of Australia, are they? How did you guys come across this company? Because obviously it's a small cap. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, I came across it by walking in New York City, walking into a coffee shop, and I was astounded by the amount of cowgirl boots that all these girls were wearing, and asked some people around me that I know, what's the deal? They immediately pointed me to Princess Polly. They said that it's kind of taken off there. Funny enough, if you search white cowgirl boots on Google search trend, you get a pretty decent chunk. A pretty decent run up, and then a pretty decent chunk of that is coming from Princess Polly, because if you go to their shoe page on their website, that is like one of their top products. That's how I found out about it. But it's being talked about everywhere. I've been using SEMrush, which tracks the website traffic, and they're pushing about, with their Australia search traffic and their US search traffic, it's about, it's like 2.2 million searches a month right now, which is pretty astounding for a small company to be on that website. So, yeah.
And what's the kind of growth if it's 2.2 million now?
You mean, like, how much more do I see it going up?
No. Well, what is, say, compared to last year? If it's at 2.2 million now, what was it, this time last year?
Yeah. I don't know if I have it up right now, but that chart, I think I've posted it a few times in the chat. Some people have taken a look at it. It is kind of astounding. I can see if I could pull it up on the file right here. Yeah, here it is.
And just while you're doing that, Matt95, you had your hand up, you were in the chat, but you've gone. If you want to come and talk, come back up. We'd love to hear from you.
We got Thomas Wyatt. Is he gone?
Let's see. Yeah, they were pushing about, all right, so before like the COVID drop off, when everything kind of went downhill, they were pushing around a little over 400, I want to say like 430,000 searches a month. They're now pushing close to 1.6 in the US store, but then you have to factor in the Australia store, which is separate because you have to put .au instead of .com.us. So altogether, they're pushing around 2.3 million. So that seems pretty good to me. I don't know. I hear people talking about it all the time. I follow these brands. That's the one thing we have to do. I mean, as being a guy, I'm probably the worst person to ask for what I think is trending, or like using me as an example for trending, because I don't, I'm not on these fashion trends, even in like the guys' fashion space. So we're at a disadvantage, and there's a lot of people who don't realize how much of an advantage they have. I mean, pretty much anything, women's, as we were just saying, is about as hidden as it gets in the stock market. I mean, like I said, I think that Revolve trade is amazing as well.
Cool. Has anyone got any questions for Black Box? Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, most of what I was going to say is similar to what Black Box was saying. I posted screenshots in the stage chat showing the Google trends for AKA, and anything related to Princess Polly is hitting all-time highs. As he was saying, the SEMrush data as well, all hitting all-time highs. It's at a price sales of around the 1. It grew over 100% last year. It wasn't profitable last year, but only barely, and was profitable before that. So the biggest concern is probably the supply chain, and I think some of their main suppliers are in China, so I'm still trying to figure out how much that is likely to affect. But they still did very well in 2020, so I have to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, it's definitely one I'll have a look at. A couple of the well-known kind of clothes brands in the UK, things like ASOS and Boohoo, are really struggling now, but it sounds like AKA's got a bit of growth behind them. Matt95, is there anything you wanted to talk about? Anything you like the look of?
No, I was just going to bring up the AKA in case Black Box didn't, so that's all.
Cool, thank you. We got a new talker. We got Loadin. Hey, Loadin, introduce yourself, what you're liking, what you're seeing.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm a newer member of the community, and I just want to. I think I joined like late last year, but I feel like I don't have a ton to add because I'm newer in the investing space. But I just wanted to show some love, I guess. Really appreciate what you guys do, and it seems like there's just a lot of good, genuine people who are trying to foster a good community. So really appreciate that. And then one of the questions I had. So I've been more of a just like buy and hold type of person before, and invested in just like tech stuff that I knew growing up, and so like Tesla, AMD, and Nvidia, and those did really well. But I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Nvidia, and I made a really big bet. I put like 99% of my portfolio in them in the pandemic, and it did super well. But I let a lot of it go at the end of last year, which turned out awesome as it's come down quite a bit. But I just haven't heard people talk about Nvidia a lot from a long-term perspective, and I feel like they might be a winner in AI in the future, as they've got a sort of like vertically integrated stack with hardware and software. So I just throw that out there for discussion if anyone had anything to say.
Anyone been tracking Nvidia? Loading, it looks like you might be our Nvidia man to go and do some research and bring back to the group.
No, that's fine. I mean, they're just they're like the big winner in the discrete GPU market. So like I was a gamer growing up, as I'm sure a lot of people were, but Nvidia was like the go-to for graphics cards, and then AMD's had some success over the past few years through also some relationships with China, and I think like AMD was in a pretty dire strait like a few years ago. They had like sold their headquarters and were like renting it back out from the people they sold it to, and it's like a $2 stock. And then they did some strategic partnerships with China and gave them a lot of money, and Taiwan Semiconductor, who produces like 90% of the world's high performance semiconductors. And so Nvidia designs chips and sources them from Samsung and Taiwan Semiconductor, and then they're really big into doing a software stack on top of their computing. So they absolutely kill it in the hardware market, but are also doing really cool things with anti-aliasing. So they have like a technology, DLSS, which upscales basically your computer graphics. So if you have like a bad monitor, you could use their tech to make it look like you have a 4K monitor instead of a 1K monitor when you're playing your game. And like resource wise, it's just like way cheaper to do that. So anyways, I just think gaming and graphics are going to be increasingly more important in the future, and that they've generated a lot of cash and have a pretty big moat. And so that as a long-term hold, I think they're probably good, and it's possible they might be at a discount now or this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a company I looked at during the pandemic, but I haven't looked at them for a while. But thanks for sharing your thoughts. If you get a really high conviction load in, and anyone else that's listening, we'd love to see a high conviction doc put into the channel. That's something that Chris monitors as well, and could form the basis of a future show. I think that's everyone. Everyone's had a chance to talk. Leon, C-Troms, anything you want to plug? Any events you got coming up? There's the chat with Chris tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Stay tuned on Twitter. In fact, here, let me in the DM stage chat. I'm gonna go pin the tweet to the Twitter space. So tomorrow at noon Central U.S. time, he's gonna be talking about lithium, but I think Dave Hansen and Jordan McLean will also be on there. So definitely come check it out on Twitter. I guess we're good here. C-Troms, anything to add?
No, I don't think so. Thanks everyone for coming to this thing. We're gonna try and do these, I think, with a somewhat more reasonable schedule. I think this was a lot of fun for me to hear what everybody's doing. Definitely, if you have any ideas about the Discord specifically, like Jenks mentioned earlier, things we could do better, things that you wish you would see, feel free to hit up mods anytime. If we're on here, we're here for you guys. So, hit us up and see what we could do.
And it would be worth saying this one was a bit of a round table. I know we covered a lot of areas, but we do want kind of specific topics kind of going forward. So, if you're into your NFTs, you can tune into that one. If you're into your streamers or whatever, you can come to that. So it's a little bit less of a kind of round table discussion about lots of things. So if you've got a specific topic you want us to discuss or deep dive into, please let us know.
All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah, yep. We'll catch you guys next time.